You're watching Saturday Anime on the Sci-Fi Channel.
In the original Gamera vs. Zigra, Gamera kills Zigra with a fireball. And in Gamera Rebirth, Gamera also kills Zigra with a fireball. But when we see Zigra, he looks kind of like Daffy Duck when he blows up in a Looney Tunes cartoon, like he's just covered in soot. Zigra doesn't look burnt at all, he just looks darker.
Zigra was probably the one design that I felt had the most potential, and they kind of squandered it. And I don't think they knew what else to do with it. Zigra is supposed to be, big space shark. I thought the manta ray addition to him looked pretty cool. Even giving him a little beam attack of his own, or whatever you want to call it, it works pretty well. And seeing Gamera try to go and fight underwater, and our heroes have to go and use really dangerous tactics to try and get out of Zigra's range, it's got some really genuinely suspenseful moments in there. But then it seems towards the end of that fight with Zigra, they just kind of gave up on having it be a battle in water. At one point, Zigra clearly almost glides through the air.
Zigra is one of my favorite Gamera monsters, and this Zigra looks more like Space Gauss than any kind of Zigra. And if he's gonna be an aquatic bird like a penguin, instead of talons, he should probably have webbed feet. Now, I do like the fact that the show is referencing the original Gamera vs. Zigra. In the original Gamera vs. Zigra, Gamera has to kill Zigra by bringing him on land. And they do that same thing in this show, except when Zigra gets on land, suddenly he has the ability to fly, which is like, if this motherfucker has the ability to fly, then how the hell does Gamera have an advantage fighting him on land? That really bothered me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the same thing I have here. The membranes help Zigra fly? This bugs me and I don't know why. That's exactly what I wrote down. The thing that I liked actually with the Zigra redesign is that he's actually got the same kind of thrusters that Gamera has. I actually thought it was a nice touch, and it helps keep all the monsters in this circle, which is part of the point of the series. The monsters are all connected in some weird way with the mineral that they discovered. And that's also one of the reasons that Boko's even able to go and connect mentally with Gamera.
Aryllium. It's like a mineral, and it's produced inside the kaiju, and it remains after they die, and you could also use it to revive the kaiju.
Yeah, and the little baby Gauss that becomes S-Gauss, it consumes the body of Virus and engorges itself. There's actually some really good details in S-Gauss when it first appears. Like, it's too heavy to actually fly, so it just swims to where Gamera is. But the Aryllium in there helps regenerate and grow into massive size. It's able to go and help Boko get that psychic link that we mentioned.
Now, in the SHOWA Gamera, most of the kaiju came from space. But in Gamera Rebirth, the kaiju are basically all Earth creatures. I think they come from different continents.
Zigra was from space, Giran was from space, Virus was from space, Gauss, Jiger, those are Earth monsters in the Showa movies. But yeah, here they're all kind of connected. They don't even get too detailed about it. Like, they seem to have a similar origin in some ways to HEISEI Gamera's origin, where HEISEI Gamera was revealed to have been created by the people of Atlantis, and it was created as this safeguard to try and keep the Earth safe from the shadow of evil Gauss that destroyed this Atlantis-like civilization. This was the same kind of thing. I will say this, the character design for Boko's mom, that might be the most mom character design I've ever seen.
Yeah, she is very mom. Her character is consistent with a mom. I like that one episode. I think it's the 5th episode. Brody's dad, the general, is talking to her. We can't go there to save our sons because if I do, I'll get in a lot of trouble and I'll be court-martialed. And then the episode ends with her going, oh, well, okay, I understand. And then in the next episode, we see her go, fuck that. Your son's gonna die and you're worried about getting court-martialed? That's a very mom way to react.
That is very mom. Lots of good, positive mom energy, you know? Actually, what was it? There was a moment in the episode with Zigra that didn't just remind me of like SHOWA Gamera, but it reminded me of like a lot of the Japanese Transformers cartoons or any of these other giant robot kind of things where it's like these kids are, oh, we're on a school trip and we're going onto the special boat. And it actually takes the time to go and explain where they actually had to go and tell their parents, yes, this is part of a study thing that we're inviting them to do. This is a learning experience and we just want your permission to do it. Whereas most of the time it's just assumed that all the kids have S-level clearance to go wherever they want in this government-run facility.
I was thinking about that at the end when they see that little Gamera the Brave that's born, and they all just kind of stroll right in there. And I was like, oh, this government facility just lets these kids just go in there anytime they want?
I was thinking the same thing. Oh, hey, kids, you want to see the particle accelerator again? Oh, you just want to look at the turtle, okay.
It is consistent with Showa Gamera. It reminds me of when Zigra shoots Gamera with that ray and then Gamera's like all knocked out in the ocean, and those two dads go down in the submarine and they're trying to help Gamera. Then suddenly the two kids show up. Like, how the hell did these kids get in the submarine? That seems very insecure.
It's almost Scooby-Doo. They just happen to be there when the story needs them to be there.
I do like Gamera, the friend of all children, but I do feel like being the friend of all children and being a Superman-esque character is pretty inconsistent with being a kaiju. Because a kaiju, regardless if they're well-meaning or not, is going to kill you because they are giant and these cities were not made to accommodate them.
And that's one of my favorite details in Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris. And it's shown perfectly in the fight between Gamera and Gauss in the middle of Tokyo. It's the most realistic depiction of a giant monster fight you're ever gonna find, because it's not just two monsters battling, it's a lot of damage and casualties. When Gamera starts using his fireballs and you just see people getting thrown up into the sky because of the explosive force behind it, it's terrifying to think about. And it's why, to me, the HEISEI Gamera works so much better. Not just that it looks more realistic, but it comes off as even its motivations are gonna be realistic. Even later on in Gamera 3, they pretty much all but out loud say that, like, it's kind of like what you said with Monster vs. Godzilla. Gamera is there to protect the Earth. Never said anything about the people.
The one thing Gamera Rebirth is missing is that sense of gray. I do like that this show is basically about the end of childhood. It's a story about coming of age and growing up and putting away childish things. And I would say an important part of growing up, from transitioning from a child to an adult, is understanding that sense of gray that the HEISEI Gamera trilogy was filled with.
Yeah, no, and it reminds me of, I was talking to a friend about Return to Oz, and how, as for all intents and purposes, Return to Oz is a children's film. Let's go back to the magical land of Oz. Judy Garland and no, we're not. We're going to the Oz that's based off the books, and it's gonna scare the hell out of you. Return to Oz scared the shit out of a lot of kids, myself included. 6-year-old me was frightened of a lot of things in that movie, and I miss that fear. It's weird saying this out loud, but I wish movies scared children more often, because in that there's strength to be gained. It makes the journey and the celebration at the end worth it, because you were able to go and conquer this fear, so to speak. I did not get a sense of dread as I watched a lot of the series. Even when Gamera's fighting Giran, and Gamera takes the most damage there. He loses an arm and an eye, and I did not expect that. And it's a permanent injury. He doesn't grow his flipper back, except when he's flying. Somehow his flipper just magically grows back and gets his thrusters again. That bothered me so much.
I guess maybe his flipper is separate from his arm.
I guess. Maybe he's got an extra set of arms underneath or something. I don't know. There was no point where I felt, if I were a kid, I'd be frightened watching this. There are moments, even as an adult, where I'm watching Attack of Legion or Revenge of Iris. What I see in there is terrifying. Legion is a frightening monster, and would be frightening to anyone looking at it, no matter what age you are. Iris is more creepy, but there's a very visible threat to it. The monster designs in this are all well done and convey that threat, but you never get that sense of dread and genuine fear from it. You definitely sense the threat, but you're not afraid, exactly. Partly because you know Gamera's gonna come to save the day. It's his name on the series.
The monster fights in Gamera Rebirth are certainly an improvement over the Showa era of Gamera, but they don't have a sense of stakes. And what struck me was at the end of the series. It's revealed that the Eustace Foundation, the corporation that's taken these kids and bringing them around and fighting these monsters, they're actually really evil, and their entire goal is to let the kaiju kill all the people on the Earth as a form of population control, and they're gonna stay on the moon, and then once all the monsters kill everybody, they're gonna come back down and repopulate the Earth. And there's one scene where that chick Emiko says to Junichi, "Why don't you come and join us?" And Junichi says no. Now I think this was a missed opportunity, and maybe it's just because they only had 6 episodes. Maybe if they had 12 episodes, they could have fixed this. What I would have liked to have seen was there was a scene in the second or third episode, where Junichi is talking to Emiko, and Junichi is telling Emiko how he thinks all of his friends hate him. And Emiko is like, no, your friends don't hate you, they like you. And to me, that seems really inconsistent with who Emiko is. What we should have seen was Emiko pushing Junichi away from Boko, Joe, and Brody. And then eventually Junichi turns on his friends and he joins Emiko. And then at the end when Joe dies and then we see Junichi become good again, I think there is a real opportunity to have that sense of gray. Because after Joe dies, Boko is reacting to it, but everybody else doesn't seem to give a fuck. And what I would have liked to have seen was Junichi reflecting on the decisions they made, asking themselves, is Joe dead because I betrayed you guys? Would he be alive if I didn't do this? And I think if you get to that end of childhood episode with Junichi questioning whether he is responsible for Joe's death, I think that would have been a much stronger ending and would have given you that sense of gray.
See, I think about that and that's a great idea. I'd be all for it. I do wonder, I think that would have been a lot better. At the same time, that kind of goes against the grain of a lot of those Gamera movies. In the Showa movies, Zigra never tries to go and separate the two kids from their friendship. The two aliens in Gamera versus Giran, the space women there, never try to go and put a wedge in the friendship of the two kids there. While it would have been great drama, I don't think that would have meshed as well, considering what goes on in most of the Gamera movies, at least the old school ones. It still would have been a vast improvement over what we got.